can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
It's been crazy. I had to be in Clarksville this morning for the Clarksville Main Street Awards, and then I hot-footed it back. You know, it's a long way from Lebanon to Clarksville.
Is it?
And yeah, I took the last train. You're
You-
kind of flunkies, you know what I'm talking
You got jokes.
about. No, I got you. That's what happens when you stay in your car and you're just driving. It's like, I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get back. But so this is going to be a shorty, but full-fledged, because I got some questions for Teri.
Oh, okay. What are we talking about?
Change, letting people change. It occurred to me the other day, someone was talking about, and I know these two people, and one was just complaining, they just keep saying they're going to change, and but people don't change. And the person was actually trying to change. They were in a program that they were following. They were making their amends. They were doing all the things to make the change. But the person they were trying to change to, make amends to, whatever, wouldn't let them. And I wondered how many times that people won't change is actually influenced by we won't let them change. There's comfort in keeping people in a category where they're the bad guy.
Oh, there's great comfort, whether the bad guy or the good guy.
Oh yeah, true.
There's comfort in keeping people locked in, especially when someone says they want to change. First and foremost, that's up to them. But secondly, if you're not supportive of it, or if you're sabotaging it in some way, then you're as equally a part of the problem as their inability to change around and or for you. No one should ever change for somebody else. I mean, if you have an unhealthy bonding or something like that, then, change for your own benefit. And your family and friends and everyone around you benefit from that. But yeah, a lot of times people will spin the vinyl, they won't change. And they are so focused on seeing leaps and bounds that they might not see the everyday struggles that someone is going through and the changes that they're making daily and consciously.
And I think change is possible. If I didn't think change is possible, I would tell everybody who had an issue in life to just go jump off a bridge, because there's no hope. I don't think like that. I think that people can change. I think that there is a possibility, whether it's by faith or by medicine and diagnoses. I think there is a possibility. And just by changing of habits, I think we can change the way we do things.
100%. 100%. Yes, agreed that there may be chemical imbalances. There may be things that make a shift more challenging, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen. And I am always suspect of people who constantly go around saying, the zebra doesn't change its stripes, the leopard doesn't lose its spots. Because I'm like, aren't you just in a negative little headset or headspace? I mean, and it's true. People can, if it's a priority, change. Now, don't get pissed off because somebody's not changing for you, because maybe they don't want to be with you. Maybe they're not changing because they really don't want to be with you. So that's what we have to look at. And when I say be with you, I mean, that can be intimate relationship, that can be friendship, that can be anything. We have a lot of expectations about wanting other people to change, but we're not really willing to shift ourselves at all. But we want to hold that fire to their feet. And there's also a time, to call bullshit on somebody that says, I'm doing it. But there's no real result. But then it's, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that. It can seem like a double standard to say, well, don't judge them. But there's also an amount of effort that people put in, and not everyone always has the same effort. So some people are go-getters, and some people are scooters, and some people are swayers. So everybody's change is different?
I think that if we consistently say they won't change, we have to be willing to wear that same shoe. If we want someone to accept that we change, if we make changes in our lives, we can change our way of eating and change our health. We can change our bedtime. We can change our sleep habits if we choose to do so. And if we want forgiveness for something and we really feel repentant about something and we go to someone and they won't accept an apology or that we've changed, even if something miraculous has happened in our lives, I want people to understand that if I change, so therefore I must be able to accept that from someone else. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Again, I think that the unspoken expectations that people have, people have had experiences in life where there's been a lot of crisis thinking, a lot of, just the other shoe's going to drop. So everybody's looking for the other shoe. And when we get in that mindset, the brain is going to find what you focus on. And if your focus on is, they're never going to change, they're never going to change, well, then you're only looking to see the disconnect or the lack thereof. You're not willing to see the big. And I, this is not a hill I'm going to die on, but I hear people say all the time, people just don't change. And I'm like, well, that's unfortunate that you feel that way, because I know that I'm not the same person I was when I was 10, when I was 20, when I was 30, when I was 40, when I was 50, and I won't be the same person that I am today when I'm 60. I'm gonna be hella cooler than what I am right now. I just don't know what that's gonna look like. But we all change. We all evolve. That's the word that I like to go to is shift and evolve. We all evolve.
We do. Rhonda says it's a choice if someone changes or someone can't accept that someone's trying to change. Yes, that is definitely much. Elizabeth says so much sense. Yeah. When we make a change in our lives and we know we've made a change in our lives, if we decide not to use a chemical that we've become very dependent upon, there are changes. When that chemical is no longer a problem. If we take a chemical to create a balance where there was a chemical imbalance in our system, we change. If we have, if we go through rehab after a traumatic brain injury, we come back, but we're changed. We're forever changed. And we, and Johnny Van Oker's stopping by to say hello. Hi, Johnny. It just really occurred to me last week. It really spurred some thoughts for me about the people in my life who've asked me to take their amends, and one I feel really guilty about because I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And my last words with this person who was very dear to me and I loved with all my heart had hurt me beyond all hurt, and had gone through some things and asked and to make amends, and I just couldn't do it again. And that was the last words I spoke to him. And I feel very in my 60s. I look back at my 40-year-old self and said, I wish I'd taken those amends. I wish I had. I've had a lot of conversations from now. 60-year-old me has said, you know what? I forgive anything that ever happened, and I understand. I get it now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing that we get locked into a lot of times, is that when somebody's ready to change or shift and we don't want to see that because we're not ready for it. I call it, it's sort of like the fruit bowl analogy or metaphor that I use. It's like if you got all these people and they're down in this bowl, and everybody's, in all the yammerings and the talkings, everybody's so excited for people to change. They're all going to support, yeah, that's great. That's great. But then when you start shifting and evolving into the direction that the trajectory that you've put in place for yourself, then this interesting thing happens. The support, much like when people are grieving, after a window of time, the supporters just sort of fall back into life. Well, when we're making these changes, you've got people who support you, and then they support you with some hesitation, and then they support you with some discouragement. And then about the time you crawled up on the edge of the bowl and you got one arm over and the other and the leg over, and you're like, woohoo, I'm doing it. Those people that were encouraging in the beginning now don't want you to evolve past where they are. So they're nipping at your ankles, trying to pull you back down in.
The crab bucket.
You don't ever have to go back down in. And it's not bad if we evolve past someone else's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual IQ. It's okay. It's okay.
Barbara says, after each major change in our life is a change. That's true. That's true. And Elizabeth adds, just because I've changed doesn't mean others will notice. I'm finally at peace with that. The changes I make are for me and hopefully beneficial to those I love as well. Boy, that's a healthy thought.
Well, and that is, that's the thing, is that people, how many times do you know someone who has, they need to change their physical, their physicality as far as like weight. They don't need to change it, but they want to change it to please someone else. People want to quit doing whatever bonding substance they have. Well, some of them don't want to quit doing it, but they'll do it because they're trying to keep someone else happy. We never succeed if we're doing it for someone else. We just don't.
No, it just doesn't ever, that doesn't seem to work.
Right. Well,
I'm willing to change for you. Never a good statement.
Right. Well, and what that does is, first off, if we're the person that's willing to change for everybody else, then we've already lost ourselves.
Whoo, y'all write that down.
I mean, we're a chameleon at that point. Because if you shift and you shift and you shift and you shift, then eventually you've shifted yourself right out of your own. You don't know who you are.
That's
but
true.
Also making demands on people. Making demands on people, saying, "Hey guys, will y'all stop? Sorry, I have 2 dogs that just want to be on the show today." Making demands on people with, well, if you don't change, then I'm gonna XYZ. Those don't work either. Sit down, have conversation with somebody, set some healthy boundaries, and set consequences to them as well. So, here's what we're looking at.
Man, this week I had someone I wouldn't even call a friend, but an acquaintance, but somehow has connected to me, which happens sometimes in our lives. I mean, we have someone that just kind of connects and started talking about all the terrible things going on in their lives. And then I knew where it was going. It was, can't I come live at your house? And I said,
Teri says no.
No.
answer that for that person. No, let me consult with Teri first.
No. Okay, here's what I did was I went through my whole process in my head in a split second. No, that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate. Elizabeth's going, no.
Yeah. No.
And Candy just joined us, and so did Joyce. Welcome, you guys.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And old me, I said, I know I've changed, because old me would have been guilted into considering. I didn't consider. I didn't guilt. I said no.
Good.
And that's when I knew that I had affected that change within myself, where I go, no, first of all, it's not even appropriate. When someone, you don't even know just says, can I come live at your house? No.
No. But a lot of times people assume, a lot of times people think they know a person better than they know a person. That does happen a lot. And I know you and I have talked about this in the past, and I've talked about this with other friends of mine that are in the, in the entertainment business. There's a lot of times that people think they know you better than they know you, and they just feel connected to you, bonded to you. And so and when I say you, I mean, people
The
in
university.
general. Yeah. And so they do reach out, and they do make these grand gestures. And it's just kind of like you sit there going, no, like, no.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong here. Candy says, old me, sure, you can stay for a while. New me, no. And that's true. It's, I cannot, Teri knows I have an island of misfit toys kind of life. And I just, it's like, oh my God, what are you doing, Devon? Dana says, no, because they never leave. Ben Franklin said it best. House guests are like fish. After 3 days, they start to stink.
Exactly.
No kidding on that one. I see that often. They know the person that the public gets to see.
Yes. Yeah.
And
so yeah, no. Girl, if you had called me and told me you had somebody living at that house that you didn't even know, can you imagine?
No, I wouldn't even want to have that conversation with you.
I mean, in my head, I'm going,
have you not listened to anything I've said?
I'm going, no, no.
But learning those things about yourself and learning what you can and cannot do. And Elizabeth's really laughing at that one. Yeah. It's like, no, I don't want to have to deal with having to even bring that subject up with Teri, because she would tell you.
Well, but it is about setting it, you just said learning what you can and cannot do. The thing about it is you can do anything.
Whether it's right to do it. Yes.
Well, I mean, maybe in your best interest. I even try to stay away from, I have clients all the time that'll say, well, is that right or is that wrong? And I'm like, I don't fall on the right or the wrong sword. Is it healthy for you? Is it in your best interest? Is it, is it in the interest of future you, the future you that you see, that you're trying to create what you want to, the life you want to live, the tribe, so to speak, that you want to have surrounding you, your good friends, is that action beneficial to that? And if the answer is no, then don't do it. But don't shame yourself by saying, God, that was such a bad choice. That was such a bad decision, because our brain gets into, there you go again, making those bad decisions. And it's just a decision. That's all it is.
Right. Joy says, my husband has been so great the past 3 months, and I've been really happy, but I can see a few little older habits slip back in sometimes. And he'll say, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm just so leery after 38 years of the same type of personality and habits coming back. That's a tough one, Joyce.
It is a tough one, and apologies are wonderful, but the best apology is a change of behavior. So when they slip, we don't shame, blame, we recognize, we address, and we continue moving forward. And everyone, Joyce, you included, will know if it works for you or if it doesn't. And then at that point, guess what? We make more choices. That's what life is. It's choices.
Elizabeth says, living amends. Victoria, hey, Victoria, I'm having a hard time understanding people who literally just walk out of your life without explanation or reason. Literally had a friend do this over a year ago, and I still can't wrap my head around it. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and ironically, I have a client that has experienced something like that. And she's been very vocal, very open about it with friends, public, and everything. And sometimes people walk out of your life, and the one thing it all comes in context, right? So if I say you're going to have people walk out of your life and it has nothing to do with you, well, if you're an asshole, it probably has something to do with you. But if you're a good person, and I mean good person, meaning, you're just doing life, and you've got friends that are avoiding you, or friends that are just they walk out. That's not about you. That's
Right.
about their level of their ability to connect and maintain friendships, connections, to prioritize. That's not about, um, if you reach out and you're like, hey, did I do something wrong? And they're like, they either ghost you or they don't answer at all, then it's not about you. And I know, Victoria, that's a hard thing to have, someone just to walk out of your life without explanation. But I've always told clients this: when we have people walk out of our lives without an explanation, they probably shouldn't be in our life to begin with, because anyone that's worth walking, if they're going to walk away from us, we deserve to know why. If they can't tell us why, then we have to assume that it really is not about us. It's about something going on with them.
Amen. Elizabeth says, I used to make demands on particularly family members. I want them to change. I've learned that may not be a realistic expectation. So I must know what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I ask people all the time, when we want these certain things to happen in our life or for other people, the question is, are we willing to reciprocate that? Can we give can we meet the expectation that we have for someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Can we meet the demand for change that we have for someone else? Because when someone starts changing, inevitably we will change as well.
Elizabeth says, I've walked out of lives before. It was always about me and my choices. I think that's important. I mean, I walked away from someone who was amazing, probably the love of my life, probably the person I lost and missed the most, because something had happened to me that I thought they would never forgive. And so I just walked away and never said a word about why, about anything. And I know I hurt that person, but 20-year-old me is way different from 60-year-old me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. Right. And every part of us is deserving of love.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we show up on the worst day ever and we are salty as all get out, we still are deserving of love. We should not withhold love from ourselves because we don't know what we don't know.
Y'all, this is a big topic, and we bring up topics one week and then I write down in my notebook something and change is what happened from last week. We started with our popcorn topics last week, and this came up, and I thought, how many of us have kept people mired in their mistakes because it was really comfortable to keep them there? It's really have somebody that we can just blame everything on. Then we don't have to deal with our own stuff.
Girl, I've kept people mired in their mistakes in my 20s, so I didn't have to change. Because it was a whole lot easier to look at all their problems and go, well, you got more problems than I got.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I wasn't proud of that. And I had to adult up and go, wow, that is really not me honoring this life. So Amen. I don't,
And Rhonda says it's really hard when you hang on to baggage. It is very hard. And Victoria said, this is such a great forum today. Thank you. Well, Victoria, we're glad that you're here always. Corinne joins us. That part. We're always deserving of love. For so many years, I didn't believe that. That's a tough one, to agree that we're worthy of love and that everyone is worthy of love. And everyone is. Even someone who's made a terrible mistake is worthy of this.
Well, and here's the thing, is that it's not even something that we have to agree. It just is. It just is. It is consistent and it's a staple in our life, like air, like plants, like earth. They exist. We exist. We are love. So we have to be worthy of it, because that's what we are. Yes, we can make some sideways decisions sometimes, and we can get in our head about not being worthy. And that's why friends walk out, or that's why partners walk out, or that's why I didn't get the job, or XYZ. But that's not true. Those are feelings. Those are not facts. Those are not facts. They're feelings.
A shout out to John Jeter, who's just joined us. Love
Hey,
this. Love
John.
you too. We're glad to have you here.
Yes, thanks.
Candy says, hard to move forward when you hold on to the past and the mistakes from the past. Elizabeth, it was easy to blame my parents. So easy for me. They were my scapegoat. I changed. They stayed the same. My changes have allowed me to have a decent relationship with them. Oh, that's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would go on to say that your changes have probably allowed you to have a very loving relationship with yourself, Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's,
I love this one too. And I hear this one a lot. Corinne says, 42 years ago, my baby son taught me about love.
Amen.
A kid will teach you about love, about forgiveness, about taking yourself less seriously. That's a really amazing gift. And Rhonda says, both of my service dogs have taught me how to love and be loved. And I'm so grateful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
and yeah, and here we go. It might be our children. It might be our dogs. It might be, and I say dogs, but they're really our fur babies. We know, if you know, you know. I mean, they are a part of our life just as much as they are our family.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's amazing who and what souls can come onto our path to teach us the most amazing things. And if we're open, we learn. And if we learn, we evolve. Thus, we change.
And I want to throw this out there. Sometimes we get a repeat offender, someone who comes into our life with the same ism or mistake making issue that messed us up years ago. And they keep coming back. It's maybe a different face, a different name. Maybe it's the same, but they return with the same stuff. And I venture to say it's so we can learn if we've learned something. In other words, do we get bogged down by the same kind of trap that caught us the first time? Or do we really evolve and change and go, you know what? I'm not going to handle another codependent person. Okay, I'm not going to be the victim of another narcissist.
We evolve on different levels. So our adult logic brain might be saying, I'm not doing this again. I am not doing this again. No sirree. Our subconscious, which is where our littles reside, which is where our true assessment of self lives. If that part of us doesn't feel deserving of love, it doesn't matter how good the mouth is flapping. We will then attract that person and justify why they're in our life while they're doing the very same repeat offender thing that we've already cycled through. And that's because it's familiar to us and we know how to navigate that. We don't know how to do or how to show up when healthy shows up, because healthy scares the shit out of people sometimes.
It does. Yes, Corinne says, I did learn not to cut that person out, but to protect my peace. I learned to put limits that I do not have to respond. And I love that.
Absolutely.
And we got everybody in the room is raising their hand. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, y'all, we have learned a lot about change today, but I know that Teri has got someone waiting for her. And so we're going to bring this to a close.
You made me feel all special. There's someone waiting for me.
There is. There's waiting for
Lord have mercy. No. Let's just be real. I have an afternoon of clients. I'm going to be Zooming. I'm going to be Aretha Franklin and who's Zooming who. So, yes, I've enjoyed today so much. I love it when we have folks that join in and share with us and communicate and all that. It doesn't get any better than that.
I know. It's incredible. You can reach me, and if you have got a topic that you want to throw out there, devonoday@gmail.com. And Teri's going to bring us home.
I am at teripugh.com. And as always, we love you so much and appreciate you sharing with us and laughing with us and keeping it real with us. And until we see you next week, here is to creating memorable moments that tip the scale in favor of a wonderful day. Increase the peace. See ya.